Hello everybody, my name is Tolly Bryn. This is The Joy of Awareness. Today I wanted to make a video about the main key for overcoming topical steroid withdrawal, eczema, allergies, and really any other autoimmune disease. If you've seen my other videos, you will know that in the summer of 2019, I took some drastic measures to fix my body and fix my health through fasting and a simple diet. And that's the practical part of overcoming this kind of illness. For those who don't know, I was dealing with incredibly bad skin conditions, a variety of autoimmune conditions. I was dealing with eczema, topical steroid withdrawal. I had something like arthritis or gout starting to develop. My eyesight was getting blurry. There were all kinds of things that were going wrong with my body, and not to mention the anxiety and depression that was going on. And one of the main keys that actually got me to the point where I was ready to make these drastic changes, because deciding to do long fasts, it's not something it's not a decision that you make lightheartedly. It's really something that you need to think about, and you really need to have a reason for doing it. And the thing that changed, the thing that kind of clicked in my mind, the epiphany that came, was that I stopped looking at the symptoms of my illness. By which I mean I stopped, looking at my skin. I stopped looking at my sneezing or my puffy and blurry eyes or my stiff joints and just endless fatigue and all of these things. I stopped looking at them as separate ailments and realized that I was dealing with systemic illness. I was dealing with, there was something wrong with my entire body, in my core being. And instead of thinking about like, oh, what lotions do I need to put on my skin to make it feel better, or is there some kind of ointment or pill or something that I can, well, I wasn't taking any pills, but you know what I mean, like, is there something that I can take for the stiff joints, or maybe caffeine for my lethargy and my anxiety and depression and all this stuff. But instead of approaching it in that sort of separate way, I started thinking of it as being all interconnected, because it is. It's all interconnected. And that really just gave me the confidence to just say, hey, like, something is not working right, something is going on, and I need to do something to change it. I really need to just really change the way I approach my life and my health, because something is not right here. And it, to be fair, it took a lot to get me to that point. Like, I was in a really, really bad place when I made the decision to, do my fasts and to really simplify my diet in that way. Those were drastic changes, and I realized that it's difficult to get yourself to do that, and especially if you're, working a full-time job, or you have a family and a mortgage to pay off and all this stuff. Like, it's a big deal to take 10 days off, or more. Like, you need periods before and after the fast, and you just need a quiet space to allow your body to heal. Like, all of this stuff, it's not rocket science, but it's also not easy to follow this protocol. I totally understand that. But it really gave me hope. It began to give me hope when I started to see that I was attacking everything head on, all of my illness. And I stopped seeing it like, it wasn't, I wasn't counting like, oh, I have allergies, and I have eczema, and I have topical steroid withdrawal, and I have, arthritis, and I have, whatever this thing is with my eyes. Did I mention there was a period where I lost my eyebrows. They fell off. It was really weird. I felt really weird when that happened. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I was saying, like, I stopped looking at them as separate things, and I started looking at it as my illness. I started seeing it as my fight. Like, this is something that I have to fight. And it became a single enemy. And when I turned it into this single enemy rather than this confused mass, this confused soup of all kinds of different diseases, and you know, the medical industry really tries to hammer this you know, this lie home that all symptoms are separate and you just need the correct drug or the correct treatment to get rid of that particular symptom. That's not how the body works. Like, if you're getting symptoms on the surface, that means there's something wrong in the core. There is a root that is deeper and that is invisible to the naked eye. If you have eczema above your eyes, if you have eczema here, you know, if you're getting allergies, if you're getting stomach cramps, diarrhea, cancer, what have you, these are symptoms of a broken physical system, and that is what needs to be corrected. The only way to correct that, however, is through a holistic approach. Like, it can't be it cannot be done piecemeal. It needs to be done all at once. And that may sound like it's more difficult, like it's more of a challenge, but really it's not. You just what you need to realize is just how the body works exactly. Just what is it that makes us tick? Where is the immune system, for instance? Where do we get our energy from? I began to realize that the digestive system is the absolute core of everything. And if there's something wrong in the digestive system, then you can be sure that you'll have something wrong somewhere else. And you know, the symptoms can be just whatever. There are so many autoimmune symptoms that can come up, and you know, they will depend upon, you know, the extent of the damage, the area of the damage, the toxins involved, you know, whether you've taken any pharmaceuticals throughout your childhood and adulthood. Like, there are so many factors to take into consideration when looking at all of this. And it is certainly important to get a good picture of the roots of your illness. It's really good to understand what you were doing wrong, or what you did wrong, or what happened. Maybe it was an accident, who knows? Like, there are so many different things that can happen that make you sick. But it's really important that you do your absolute best to figure out, like, what could it be? In my case, obviously the topical steroids and the oral steroids that I took for my skin disease had a huge part to play in the really terrible state of health that I found myself in. But there were other factors, for sure. There were other factors. One of them was growing up in a broken household, in a household which, you know, although I had a mother and a sister who loved me, there were some deep issues, some deep problems within my family, which had a deep negative impact on me. And there were all kinds of sort of traumatic manifestations that sort of ensued from my childhood, causing me to be in a basically constant state of anxiety for most of my, you know, my teenage years and my early adulthood, and even, you know, quite far into my late adulthood. It wasn't until I was maybe 26, 27, something like that, when I really started to see a huge shift in the way I approached life. And in no small part was that due to fasting and fixing my body. The reason I mentioned the anxiety is because, you know, a constant state of anxiety is just incredibly unhealthy for you. It will absolutely ruin your body. I don't have any sort of tangible scientific evidence for this, but I do believe that many of the symptoms that you will see from living in a constant state of anxiety, the physical symptoms, will probably be similar to the symptoms that you get from abusing topical steroids, simply because topical steroids mimic cortisol, which is one of the anxiety-inducing hormones. So you've got this constant, squirting of cortisol and adrenaline in your system, basically all day, every day. At least, for me, I was at the point where I was living in fear for a lot of my childhood. I was afraid of my mother. I was afraid of, sometimes I was afraid of the men in her life. Sometimes, she would drink a lot, or they would drink a lot, and that there would be difficult times in my family. And, I would hide from that. I would hide from it through addiction, through just numbing out, through disassociation, all kinds of just really uncomfortable, traumatic things. And I'm not bringing all this up to sort of demonize my mother or my family. I do believe that she was doing as well as she could do at the time. But it doesn't change the fact that it did affect me in really negative ways. And finally, one of the main reasons for my terrible state of health in my mid-20s, which had developed slowly over time since I was a kid, was that I had been prescribed antibiotics, I don't know how many times, for the most inane things. Like, I remember once getting like a cut on my finger and it got a little gangrene in it. And knowing what I know now, I would never take antibiotics for something so tiny, so minuscule. But the doctor prescribed me like a whole 2-week course of antibiotics plus an antibiotic cream. I was probably like 12. And instead of saying like, yeah, having a healthy diet really, it really prevents any and all infections. So maybe Mrs. Tolley, I'm talking about my mother, her name is not Mrs. Tolley, but I thought it was funny. If I were the doctor, I would have talked to my mother and said like, yeah, maybe you should take a look at your son's diet and his environment, and like, if he's getting infections left and right, it means there's something wrong. This doesn't happen to healthy children. But no, as per is the course, as is the course for the medical profession in general, just more drugs, no explanations, more drugs. Just don't ask, just don't doubt what the doctor says. Just do what he says, just take the drugs, blah, blah, blah. Just absolute idiots. I'm sorry, like, these people they shouldn't be even let close to sick people. It's so sad. The state of the general population is just, it makes me so incredibly mad. So incredibly mad. But what can you do? Like, you just need to laugh at it, really. Because as soon as you realize that you can take full responsibility for your own health, they can't affect you anymore, except in stupid circumstances like in the last few years, where everybody and their grandmother seem to know all of a sudden how what medications you should take and why, and how you're a bad guy if you don't do what the mainstream medical profession tells you to do, and all this just stupid stuff. And I know there were people all around the world who were basically forced into medical intervention that they didn't need, and that is just disgusting. And those people just, they shouldn't, not only should they not have a license, but they should be in prison. They should be in prison. Like, it's absolutely criminal, and I'm quite sure that in a few years' time, maybe it'll probably take decades, many of these people will pay for their actions. And obviously, governments all around the world, they're just corrupt assholes. But even if they don't see legal prosecution You know, there is such a thing as karma, and you don't get away with just pulling stuff like that. You don't get away with it. There are moral repercussions in your life, in your psyche, and nobody gets. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no such thing as something for nothing, and that's what these people were trying to get. Anyway, so moving forward from that rant, I was talking about what it was that got me into the really bad state of health that I was in. And yeah, I mentioned the drugs, both the steroids and the antibiotics, and the constant state of anxiety. So the constant state of anxiety, I just want to talk a little bit more on that, because I didn't really realize exactly what that entailed until quite recently. Like, that would be something that you might call psychosomatic illness. And it's absolutely clear to me exactly what's happening in the body now when I think about it. But back then it sounded a bit voodoo. It sounded a bit like wishy-washy. Like, what does that mean? What does it mean that your environment and your mental condition can affect the way that your body works? But it's really quite simple. The stress hormones, they have a plethora of effects. One of which is slowing down the digestive system, because you need that energy, because you're kind of in fight and flight mode. You need that energy to get away, to fix your environment, to get away from a predator, or whatever the primitive brain is thinking. But seeing as you're stuck in this environment, seeing as there is no true life-threatening danger, even though your environment is really bad, you're just stuck in this fight or flight mode forever. And this is what they call CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Sorry about that. And it's pretty complex, as the name implies. I read a lot about this many years back. It's been a while since I read about it, but it is absolutely amazing, just the effects that constant anxiety, constant strife in childhood, the effect that it can have on you, like, way into adulthood, and just until you die, basically, unless it is confronted, and it needs to be confronted. And that is in large part the work that I am doing these days, because having overcome some deep physical illness, I realized that I had even more work to do with healing up here. And it's funny, as I talk about this, I'm also realizing that in some sense I'm making unnecessary distinctions between body and mind, just as I was doing between different symptoms of physical illness. And it's kind of a paradox, because obviously it is necessary and helpful to distinguish between mind and body. They're not exactly the same thing, even though they are the same thing as well. What I mean by this is that working through mental trauma will help heal the body, just as healing the body will help heal mental trauma. That's why I saw huge improvement in my mental health, even though I wasn't like that. That was not my focus. I was focused on healing, the flaky, red, oozing, itchy skin, the endless pain, the sleepless nights, the terrible autoimmune disease. That's what I was working on. But thank the Lord, I saw huge improvements in my mental health as well. And that's really what got me down on this path. And what I want you to take from this video is, if you are just beginning on this journey of understanding human health, if you're if you're in the place where you're dealing with chronic illness, you've been meeting lots of doctors, if you're in the place that I was in 5, 6, 7, well, it's longer, 8 years ago or something like that now, where I still trusted doctors, and I was getting a bit jaded, and I was like, I've been seeing all these doctors. I've also been seeing like natural medical professionals. I've been trying to get as much help. I've been trying all the drugs, and I'm still getting worse. If you're in that place and you're listening to my videos and you're realizing something is wrong in the world, something is wrong in the medical profession, if you're having this epiphany, then you will get to the place where I am now, because this is a slow process of revealing truth and understanding. There are universal laws that govern human health, and they are incredibly similar on the physical and the mental levels. And how can I say this? It is absolutely imperative that you not look at your illness as separate from anything else that is you. I think it's imperative that you see that the illness that you're dealing with, whatever it may be, is a part of you, because there is a part of you that is hurting, that is broken. But more often than not, it can be fixed. And there's only one person who can fix it, and that is you. And if you'll take a look at my earlier video on responsibility, that is one of the absolute most crucial components to developing your health, to finding true health. Because true health is not, we've just been sold so much crap. We've been told so much crap. We're told that our health is beyond our control, that the pinnacle of health is, when you're 20 years old, and then you're going to get a beer gut, you're going to get fat no matter what you try to do. You can't affect your metabolism, you can't keep yourself healthy, and if something comes up, you just need to go to your doctor and he'll give you your drugs. And then you die, usually in pain and drugged out of your mind. And that is just not the case. I believe it's possible to live a long, long, prosperous, happy, thriving life without any sort of medical intervention, except in the case of acute illness or accidents. Because obviously you want a doctor who can patch you up if you have a car accident, or if you catch malaria or whatever, and you just need some help. You want a doctor. You want somebody who understands the practicalities of the human physical machine. And even though I do bash doctors a lot, sorry about that. My lighting fell. That was weird. Try this again. I was obviously getting a little bit too intense there. I was saying that, yeah, even if I do bash doctors a lot, the reason is simply because they are working outside of their league. I believe they are giving people drugs for chronic diseases, which they have no business doing, because chronic diseases are something that requires another approach, just a completely different approach You don't need drugs. You need holistic, deep healing methods. You need something that will heal you from the inside out. And drugs cannot do that. Anyway, I think that's where I'll stop this video now. I sincerely hope that you are getting some value from my videos and from my content in general. If you do, please like and subscribe. Please share these videos just wherever you think they may be helpful. If you've just found this content, please try out my protocols, try out fasting, check out my older videos. Try out, fasting with simple meals in between. You'll be amazed at the incredible benefits that you'll find, the incredible healing that you'll find through those protocols. And after you've healed yourself, you can come back here and you can share my stuff and help others do the same. You can check out my books. I've got 2 books out. Mind Reclaimed, that's the second one. The first one is Health Simplified. In the first one, in Health Simplified, I go really deep into my healing journey, just what it took for me to get from suicidally depressed due to my absolutely decrepit state. My physical health was just down the toilet. It was absolutely terrible. But I managed to fix it, and now I am in a state of thriving health that I never imagined possible. I had eczema since I can remember, since I was like 8 or something, and in the last 3 years, I've had like 2 patches of eczema, and only those have materialized when I have fallen off my purpose of living healthfully. Like, I started eating just lots of junk over a few week period, and then I started getting like these patches above my eyes, and I was like, wow, that is a symptom, that is a sign that I need to fix what I'm doing. I need to stop what I'm doing, and I did. Shouldn't have been there to begin with, but that's another story. Mind Reclaimed goes more into the mental aspects and the spiritual aspects, and especially with regard to living and thriving in the society that we find ourselves in, because there are a lot of problems here. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of stupid people who think they know better than you and who think they can tell you what to do. And most of us just accept it and just do what they say, and we suffer for it. So check out those 2 books. They're short, they're concise, and they are relatively cheap. So you do that, you can support my work through that. Finally, you can check out my website, joyofawareness.com, where I have lots of articles that you can check out. They're generally pretty short. Some of them are a bit longer and more in depth, and you'll probably find something that you are interested in on there. Otherwise, I wish you just an amazing life, and I sincerely hope that if you are here because of chronic illness, if you're dealing with something similar to what I went through, that what I'm talking about here will help you. The steps are simple. The steps are simple. It takes a bit of logistical work to figure out, how can I fast? Where can I go? What can I do? Like, can I take time off? Can I get somebody to watch the kids? Do I have enough saved up to, like, I know that there's a lot of things that you need to figure out, and it is what it is. Like, this takes dedication, this takes discipline. But I promise you, if you follow through with this, if you put your effort into these protocols, you will see healing. I've spoken to many people who have been commenting on my videos, who have contacted me directly, who have seen incredible healing in short amounts of time. Like, when I say that I started fasting and healed myself, I'm talking about a period of like 2 months, and I was 90% healed. And then the next 10% came in the next 2 months after that. So it doesn't have to take such a long time, but it does take dedication. And I just wish you all the best. And feel free to contact me if you want to do a one-on-one chat. I'll be happy to help if I can. or just send, oh, yeah, we can figure out some email kind of thing where I can help you out that way. Whatever works. Otherwise, see you in the next video, and just take care of yourself. Yeah.